Hello and welcome to WRMN AM 1410. You're listening to Friday with the Fuzz, and we are joined as always by Chief of Police Jeff Swoboda here today, and we also have Officer T.J. Coffield here with us today. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Morning.
Good morning.
So
he made it easy. Wore his name on his shirt for you, so now you don't have to look at your notes.
Yes. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And we've got quite a few topics today. We're going to be talking PokemonGO a little bit later on. You guys did a walk and talk with that earlier in the week, and then we're talking about how hot it's been and what Elgin PD is doing to assist folks or to recommend to folks on things that they should watch out for or things that they should just be aware of with the big heat wave that we've been having. And we've got some arrests to talk. We've got one particular arrest to talk about. There was a robbery arrest. Do you want to start off with that, Chief?
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week. That earlier in the week, I think it was on a Tuesday evening. There's on South McLean Avenue that someone walked into the gas station down there and robbed them. And so our investigators were working on it right away. And actually, this was a nice thing. Eventually, the person turned themselves in with I think a parent. So we were able to make an arrest on that. The investigation's still ongoing because sometimes you just make one arrest. There's more things to do and sometimes more people to talk to. So our investigators, it's not closed by any means, but the nice thing is right off the bat we were able to make an arrest on the person who was actually in there who robbed the place. So I was confident we would. This is always nice when you get a break where somebody does, for whatever reason, kind of identify themselves. Makes it easier, but our detectives have been working on this since it happened, and so that we just put that press release out yesterday, I believe. So yeah, there was a good arrest on that, and that was just kind of one of the updates we wanted to start with.
Well, good. I'm glad that was resolved without any sort of extra need to go and investigate and anything like that. It sounds like you didn't need to do too much extra work on that one, which is always good when the community is aware of these things, and then the person who is at fault realizes what they've done and that they take no ownership of that. So that's always great to see. Let's see, what else did we want to talk about here today? Well, the heat wave. That's
very warm out there. Very warm.
That's been getting to be a little extreme.
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah, even this morning, even coming out this morning, right off the bat, it hits you pretty hard. And so I'm not sure what's the high going to be today. Have you seen it?
See, the high today, actually I have my weather report right here. Right. I can let you know. The high today, high near 93, and with the heat index, though, it could get up to as high as 105.
Wow. Yeah, so that's been lasting the last few days, and so we're just reminding people that if they first of all, if they ever just need to cool down, the police department's always open. They can just stop down and come and sit in the lobby of the police department and cool off for a little bit. We're always here for people, and they need to know if that's the case. But also, if people are listening to this, that means they're inside and they have electricity at some point, or maybe they're in a car. But if there's other people that they know or that are in their lives who maybe don't have the luxury, or maybe because of money they don't turn the air on as often as maybe they should, or maybe don't even have air conditioning, make sure that they are checking on them, or call us and we'll go check on anybody. So the important thing is that everybody remains safe, and so if you have any inkling whatsoever that maybe somebody is in their home and in this heat, that can be very unsafe if it's not cool inside their house. So give us a call. We will absolutely come out. That's not a small insignificant call. We'll absolutely come out and knock on the door, make sure everybody's okay. Sometimes maybe if we can arrange a ride for them if they want to go to a relative's house, we'll work that out. But in these next few days, for the few days leading up to this, and then over the next couple, the most important thing is that people stay comfortable, and that they can not. We don't want anybody having to take trips to the hospital, and the fire department's very busy as well. So if we can kind of preempt that with a stop and a knock on the door and get somebody to someplace cool, we'll do that. So please check on people as much as you can.
Absolutely, and the folks who are at most risk, what I was reading earlier in the week here was that elderly, children, and pets. And speaking of pets, you guys have been promoting Too Hot for Spot throughout the summer here, and just to keep pets in cool, dry places, and not to keep them stuck in the car, especially with the temperatures that we've been having.
Yeah, I don't know many pets that don't want to go for a car ride, but in days like today and the next couple, just best to leave them at home. Even if it's a short car ride. And many times people think, I'm just running to the store. The air conditioning, although it'll be off, the car will stay cool for the next 2 minutes. I'm just running in and grabbing something, and I'll be right out. Sometimes the line's long, something happens, they need a check on the price of your item, and sometimes we know that can take longer. So
Right,
the key
right.
is just realizing that you never know what can happen. So just leaving your pets at home is probably the best course of action right now. So and if you see somebody, and nowadays with social media, we get those things forwarded to us as well. So the pictures of almost like the public shaming of
Oh, yeah.
someone whose pet is in a car when it's warm like this, and people are taking pictures of the car and the license plate and sending it to us, and we followed up on those. We don't always get to them right away, especially if it's already taken care of. But there's always some follow-up that's done on it. But I see many times people are kind of taking care of this on their own because people are just again taking snapshots of it and putting them out there on social media and kind of again public shaming them that why would you bring your dog in this heat, it's rolled up, and then the person either doesn't want to get on because then they'll know that it's them, or else they're trying to defend, I was only in there for 2 minutes, and it's just better not even get involved with it. So we're asking people to leave your pets at home, but if you do see a pet that's in distress or just in a car and it's obviously for even a minute in this weather with the windows up, any pet, it'd be way too hot. So call us immediately. We'll come out and make sure that we get the animal safe as well.
Absolutely, and I just to note just something that I happened to notice. A couple of the area restaurants, they do have watering stations for people walking their pets. So they've got little dishes out there filled with water. So I know that Arabica Cafe just here on Douglas, and then also a little further up the road on right at Dog's Paw Brewing, they've got a water dish out there as well for pets. So if you're walking your pet and they need a little sip of water, they've got that provided to people who are passing by.
There you go. That's nice. Looking out for everybody. So that's a great thing. So yeah, so we'll get through this heat, and I get a couple months we'll be wishing we were back in the talking about the heat advisories that were going on when it's 20 below zero and we're complaining about it. So enjoy the heat as best you can.
Yeah. So for anyone who's got solar panels, I'm sure they're having a field day.
Exactly.
But speaking of solar panels and keeping charged up with things, something that's been draining a lot of people's batteries has been PokemonGO.
Look at you with that little segue. I was wondering where you were going with solar panels. And, yes, and we have our Pokemon expert here with us, and it sounds like you might have a little bit of
just
knowledge as well. So I'm probably going to sit back and let you guys talk a little Pokemon stuff.
All right, well, TJ, I'll hand it off to you to begin with. So you guys had your walk and talk, but it was a little bit different this time around because it was centered around PokemonGO. What can you tell us?
Well, a couple weeks ago when the game came out, we started to see the momentum the game was gaining. There were just a lot of people in the downtown walking around. We had some calls, just people who probably weren't familiar with what the game was, calling just because, for an example, one of the calls I got was someone called saying they saw someone walking around, they looked confused. You get there and it's PokemonGO.
And they were.
And there were several calls that were like that. Nothing hugely significant, but we wanted to put a program on to let people know the safety concerns we had as far as people walking around being distracted or hopefully not driving around distracted. And then we also wanted the educational side of it for people that weren't really sure what PokemonGO was.
Right, exactly. And then because of some of our listeners who might be tuned in right now, they might not know what exactly PokemonGO is. They might not even know what Pokemon is to begin with. So let's take a little bit moment here and inform people what exactly this whole craze is. So Pokemon itself, it was a TV series and a trading card game that got started back in the late 90s, and it took off immensely. It was hugely popular with kids. And I know at one point my elementary school banned Pokemon games and trading cards because it just got to be so crazy popular. And it's kind of seen a resurgence over the years. Pokemon never really went away, but its popularity has just jumped leaps and bounds ever since the release of PokemonGO. And with PokemonGO, it's what's known as an augmented reality game. Now, what we mean by that is that it's a real world game. You have to walk about. You are the player in the game. You don't push buttons to move around a level or anything like that. You are the player itself, and the world around you is the level, if you will. And it's where there are certain points of interest, so things like the tower building here in Elgin. There's the Elgin clock at the Elgin police station, which I know is another Pokestop. Pokestops are just points of interest in the game for those of you who are new, who are just learning about this right now. And it's where you go and you visit these locations, you can gather different items, and then the primary point of the game is to capture Pokemon. Now, what are Pokemon? They're these little creatures who have different abilities and things like that. And it's essentially to collect them, and then also part of the main mechanic of the game is also training your Pokemon and by battling them and making them stronger. So those are a couple of the core mechanics of the game. And is there anything that I'm really kind of forgetting there?
Well, no, the fundamental thing about it is that it's getting people out.
Yes.
So you need to be out in public for the most part to go to these different places that you need to check in at or to catch Pokemon. And so a lot of what we've seen is downtown Elgin in particular is a very it's concentrated with a lot of these important places to go to. And so a lot of our parks, you can go there any time of the day and see people out there. And with that, a lot of our safety tips were obviously go out with multiple people, don't go out alone, especially at night, and wear brightly colored clothing so that people can see you when you're walking around, and just be aware of your surroundings. We see a lot of people walking around with their face glued to their phone, and I mean that's no new thing. I mean, prior to this, text messaging was a thing, right? And texting while driving is a problem.
Exactly.
So, but with it, I think it probably takes even more concentration away, just because you're so focused on the game that you might walk in the way of somebody riding their bike, or just not be aware of what's going on around you. That's what we want to prevent. So
and as part of that, so all this big craze is going on, and what I love is that we always say up in administration that the best ideas never come from us. They're always coming from the people actually doing the job. So these guys, I'm going to say these guys, Kevin was on the show last week, but TJ specifically was seeing all this going on and saying, we should do something with the police department. So then had this idea that, let's hold an event. And so they did, and it was just made all the news. And you want to talk a little bit about the event as far as what, how we advertised it and how many people? And,
so we went out to social media, so we put some stuff out over Facebook, handed out some flyers. I met some people at kind of the hot spots in town in the different parks and just let them know that it was going on. And tons of people out there. I mean, all kinds of different ranges, parents with their kids, people about our age, because with when Pokemon started, we're kind of the target age demographic for the nostalgia part of it. Mm-hmm. But last Tuesday we met outside of the police department, and we had probably started with a gathering of about estimated probably about 150 people out there, and gave people basically the overview of what we were going to do. So we walked down towards Walton Island, towards the center of town, and just while we were doing that, gave safety tips. We stopped if we found Pokemon and discussed different strategies of the game. And at the end, we had a nice cooling station the fire department helped us out with. And while we went along the way, there were so many people downtown that I think eventually just people that happened to be downtown playing would see the big group, figured out that we were also doing Pokemon. And I think by the end of the thing, we probably had 200-300 people.
Wow.
So pretty large turnout. We didn't really know what to expect, so we prepared for it. We had water to hand out and everything because it was also a very hot day.
Right.
But it was overall a really good thing. I think a lot of the kids had a really good experience with us, and it was good outreach. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
There were plenty of adults out there with or without kids. And, overall it's a good thing. It gets people out using the parks, and I'm sure the parents are happy that the kids are getting out during the summer playing.
Absolutely.
So,
And just from what I've noticed in my own observations, because I played the game as well, as I'm sure people have gathered from us and how we're talking about it here.
Right.
But just walking around, it's been really neat because, something that I always grew up hearing was stories from my parents. They grew up in the 50s and 60s, and they would say, we were always outside all the time. There was all these neighborhood kids. We were out and about, from sun up to sundown. And, when the street lights came on, we would still be outside. And the thing is, I feel like a lot of that part of the American culture has kind of faded out. And I'm hoping that with something like this, even though, yes, it is technology-based and you do kind of have your head in your phone a bit, people are out and about, they're interacting with each other again in good and positive ways. I've been able to walk down by the riverside there, over by where the canopies are set up. And it's where I'll walk down there and I'll walk by a person and say, "Oh, did you catch anything good today?" And that's how we start a conversation. I've never met this person before. They've never met me. But we get talking, and it's great. You meet new people, and I know a lot of people have made new friends. I know a lot of kids who've been struggling with things like depression and anxiety. This has gotten them out of their houses, out doing something active, and it's helped them overcome a lot of that. So there's been a lot of positive from it, too. So it's great that that it has a lot of the positive things, but with what the Elgin PD is doing, what other police departments around the country are doing, bringing awareness that there are some safety concerns to be aware of. So again, please pay attention. And even the game itself even warns you. Please pay attention to your surroundings.
The first disclaimer screen. Yeah,
Yes.
Right. But yeah, I mean, we've experienced that too. My fiance, just for the sake of conversation, the game came out. I started playing it on whatever day it was, just like let's say a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
She was making fun of me for playing it, and by Thursday night she was hooked. So, another thing it's a pretty simple game, so people can get into it fairly easily, and you don't have to be like an expert gamer. And with that, you see a lot of parents playing with their kids out there, and there definitely is that social interaction where you're walking up and down the bike path, and people are pointing out like, "Hey, there's a Pikachu over here." So
exactly, and then people
Yeah.
flock to it. And it's good. It's a good community thing, I think, and so with that, I just have to pose a question to the both of you. So, along with walking trails and bike paths, do you think we'll start to see a separate PokemonGO lane for people who are walking a little bit slower to play that?
I don't know. We'll have to see what the overall how long the hype lasts.
Yeah.
If people are going to be into it for a long time. I don't know, but just with the way the franchise has been for the last. When did the card game come out? Like 20 years ago?
Roughly 20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was 8. So,
and let's see, I was 4 or 5 years. I was 5 at the time. So.
And with the way technology is going, I bet we'll see a lot more games that are similar to this. And
absolutely.
With the success of it, I'm sure other people will be trying to make their own versions.
And people have been talking. Oh, what about other big franchises? What about things like Star Wars or Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, anything like that. I mean, all these great, pieces of intellectual property that could very easily do something like this and have just as large of a following. So if you're not a Pokemon fan, maybe something else.
Get your own flavor of it, or
exactly. So it's been a really cool thing. Now, you said that you were also talking strategies with folks. So TJ and we were talking a little bit before the show, and TJ's well beyond where I am in the game. So what would have been some of your personal strategies for progressing in the game there?
Well, there's the most efficient way of leveling, right? So
okay.
What you see with a lot of people that have high levels is you collect as many Pokemon as possible, and then there's a lucky egg that you can use that boosts the amount of experience points you get. So it actually doubles it. So you use that egg, and then you evolve all of your Pokemon at once and just get like an enormous experience boost. And so with that, it'll take you through, I don't know, depending on what level you're at, it could boost you as much as 5 levels I've seen people get early on. So
yeah, I do think I had an article about the walk and talk that I read earlier in the week here, and it had a report of one woman who started off the walk and talk at level 3, and by the end of it she was level 7. So
yeah.
That just tells you how much you were able to progress in a short period of time. So,
didn't you say there was a downtown? Do you know about the downtown laying some?
Yes,
some
I actually have the article
egg
here.
Or something.
So they have for the hot spots that the TJ and I were mentioning. They have this item called it's a lure is what it's called, and it attracts Pokemon to those hot spots. And apparently, between the Downtown Neighborhood Association of Elgin and a few of the other businesses in the downtown area, they've all coordinated this where they're going to all put these lures on all the hot spots in the downtown Elgin area and have it be a big event. It's going to be going on from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. And then also Sunday, I heard that Danny's on Douglas is going to be hosting gym battles and Pokemon-themed drinks that they're going to have out there, all sorts of other cool things. So that's going to be Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. I was just reading that in my news earlier this morning. So it sounds like everyone's jumping on board with it, and it's cool to see the community rally behind a really neat idea and to see such a positive response from all this. And people didn't really know where it came from and just kind of jumped out of nowhere at people, and people just latched onto it, and it's just taken off enormously.
Yeah, I was at an event at Senior Services a couple days ago, and we gave a little talk about what it was. Actually, one of our officers, Lissandro, talked about Pokemon. He doesn't play, so I put him in a tough spot to talk about it. But, people are asking questions, aren't people being robbed? And isn't this a scam to get people to come to you and rob them? And and we don't have that. I mean, that's not what the game is. Now, there have been some people I think I've seen on TV, some girl was hit by a car and maybe some other issues, but have we had anything with any of the Pokemon, other than just sometimes players are rude when they go on private property, or I've heard things are going on cemeteries, and so people use their head, but we haven't had any issues or anything.
No real significant negative incidents involving it. Yes, we've had some calls, but for the most part, it's just people that don't understand what the game is yet, and they're wondering what people are doing walking around, and calling out suspicious people, that sort of thing. And with the popularity of the game, I think when you have millions of people all playing, you're going to have a couple incidents around the country where bad things do happen, and it's no new thing. I mean, set up robberies or things like that over Facebook or Craigslist, things like that. It's mostly just people have to be careful and aware of their surroundings, and that applies to more than just PokemonGO.
Absolutely. And so it's citizens being aware, and it's also the fact that you guys are very aware of what's going on with PokemonGO, and so to watch those things if they do become problematic. So that's good that you guys are on top of that.
One of the things we were hopping on as well is we're looking at it as a crime prevention strategy as well. I mean, we have hundreds of people walking around the downtown area, on the bike path, on Walton Island. And so we're encouraging people to come out and play and walk. I mean, because then they have a phone, obviously, and if something's going on, they can contact us immediately. So the way I was just talking at breakfast with someone yesterday, and she said her sons, who are in their 20s, were walking around at 1 o'clock in the morning catching Pokemon in a neighborhood. Now that can cause some people to be alarmed and say, hey, and we might get a call for service. We didn't, but I said, hey, the more people that are out walking around at all times of the day and night, and if they see anything going on, they can call us. That's a great thing. So we're hopping on the craze for a few things. Some people like to play the game, and also we just think it's I love that DNA's hopping on board and they're trying to get more people downtown, but also just looking at it as a crime prevention strategy. The more people walking around our town, as long as they look up every once in a while to see if something's going on, they might walk right by a burglary going on. They might not notice because their head's in their phone, but look around a little bit. If something's suspicious happening, give us a call, and we're looking at it as a very positive thing.
Absolutely. And talking about the community, there is one particular community member who we mentioned before the show got going, and Eleanor Rijo, who a lot of us know as the First Lady of Elgin. She's in the process of getting well. She for those of you who haven't heard, Eleanor did take a little bit of a spill, and she did break her wrist, from what I heard. So she's been recovering. She's been doing well, from what I've heard, but I haven't heard from her in the mornings. Normally she calls in at 5 to 7 with birthday wishes and anniversary wishes for just about everyone in Elgin that I can think of, and haven't heard from her for a little while. But that's probably because her dialing hand isn't quite working quite right at the moment. So we just wanted to wish Eleanor a speedy recovery. So I know that you had brought that up, Chief.
Yeah, we stopped by and saw her yesterday or the day before. So Commander Lally and I went, and Commander Lally picked up some flowers, and we went and just said hello to her, visited her a little bit, and so she's same old Eleanor, just has a little injured wing there, so she'll be back soon. But wish her the best, and she's doing fine. But we're gonna miss her because we have our monthly Chiefs meeting on this coming Monday.
Okay.
And she's always a staple. She always brings the cookies, and so she's like, I'm already working with my daughter to get you guys cookies. I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll figure out our own cookies, and we'll be fine. But she's always, as usual, she was worried about everybody else and us not having cookies at the meeting. So that's just typical Eleanor. So wish her the best, and I'm sure she'll be back calling you in no time.
Absolutely. Well, Chief T.J, thank you so much for joining us here today for this edition of Friday with the Fuzz. You've been listening to Friday with the Fuzz here on WRMN, AM 1410 in Elgin. Coming up next, we've got Senior Spotlight Radio with our very own Steve Thorne coming up here on WRMN, AM 1410 Elgin.